completely broken, right? Like, that's just how old school he is. So for 7 years, my father had the same Nokia cell phone, right? Like, do you remember the Nokia cell phone when you could switch out the different colored faceplates, right? So I looked at my dad, I'm like, Dad, you can't even text message with this. He's like, why do I need to text message? Call you on the phone. Like, that's his mentality, right? So when the iPhone came out, I bought him an iPhone. And when I got home, I texted him. I'm like, Dad, how do you like your new phone? And I don't hear from him for like 24 hours, right? 24 hours finally rolls around, and I get a text message back, and he's like, I like it very much. Thank you. And then my phone rings like immediately after, and it's my dad, right? So I pick it up, and I'm like, hello? And he's going, oh, I'm just calling to make sure the text message went through. Just totally defeats the purpose. Text message with each other right now. So the other day I called him, and he picked up the phone, and he's like, hey. I'm like, hey. He goes, you ever notice how life is a lot like toilet paper? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, Dad? And he's like, you know, how it always seems to run out faster the closer you come to the end of the roll? Smoking cigarettes with my father, this is what he passes down as profound insight. The day he turned 58 years old, my father has never been clever with metaphors. He attends a prayer group on Saturdays, goes to church on Sundays, and once a month volunteers to serve communion to the elderly at the local retirement home. If the entrance to heaven was measured by the path we take to reach the pearly gates, God will blow breath on my father's feet to lift him to the sky, while I would have a lot of explaining to do. I spend most days dodging confession booths, while my father serves salvation like 6 o'clock medication to folks who think of communion as the frequent flyer miles we rack up to get to heaven. Some of them have cashed their tickets by the time my father returns. But he returns. If not for them, then for the old man in room 14. For him, my father remains persistent, peers into his room and offers communion as if this time would be different, only to be met each month by a face as distant as the relatives who no longer visits. But for the first time last week, the old man said yes, took the leavened bread from my father's fingers, placed it on his lips where it lingered until that evening. He went to sleep and never woke again. Left this world with nothing more but a bedpan that needs cleaning, a 3-piece suit to be buried in, and the one question my father started asking since. What is it about death that makes a man finally come to terms with God? I am the wrong guy to be asking. There's a part of me that believes death doesn't give you too many chances to escape the light. Might as well smoke your lungs into midnight, drink like the liver deserved to be punished, supersize your value meals, pimp slap an ex-convict, masturbate until your brain explodes from a lack of oxygen. There's 6 million ways to die. Choose one that best fits your personality and run with it. Well, I've been running ever since. Going through life as fast as I blow through cigarettes, tipsy walking on the rim of shot glasses, haphazard and reckless, eyes wide open, searching for places I'm hoping God will never find me until I see my father, knees buckled at the pews, hands knuckled at the brow, eyes clenched tight as if redemption revealed itself on the inside of our eyelids, and we try to squeeze it out through our tear ducts so the world can see God's glory inside us. My father will never show us tears, but I know, watching how his temples move in prayer, he sometimes curses God for the calloused palms, for the tired fingers, cursing how he can weave them so tight with faith, while God just watches his wife, his children, and his ambitions, and through them my father, who will feed you with one hand while spanking you into oblivion with the other, who lectures why A- wasn't good enough, bring home a beat, he'll ransack your room searching for drugs, who will brag to his friends about us, who will worry about my living life with such reckless abandon. My father, who after every cigarette break always asks if I could stay, even for just a little while, and I find myself always saying no, because I got things to do and places to go, and I watch him disappearing faster from my rear view, distance growing like the skid marks I blazed behind me. You were right, Pop. Life is supersonic, so grab my arm and slow me down like you always have. Remind me not to run too fast. Teach me to look both ways before crossing the street, because the world is out there, blazing by at high speed, and I get lost way too often. And some days I forget to come home, but you should know, these days I'm only reckless on a microphone. I'm looking both ways before making a decision. I'm holding tight before it all unravels with a simple misstep. So please, light up another cigarette. Let the smoke linger a little bit longer. Let it rise to the heavens, and I will ride it like God, blowing breath on my feet. And when I arrive, and they ask me if I've come to terms with my faith enough to come inside, I'll tell them the one thing I know to be true. I'll tell them I came to terms with God the moment I saw God living in you.